Hi guys. Today gonna be your spiritual influence on the physical. There are gonna be 3 piles as usual. Pile 1, I'm gonna be this Leo ring I got on my birthday. Let's see. I'm not sure if you can see the shape. But it's emerald green. Pile 2 gonna be this. I forgot what these are called. But it's a crystal. And it's egg shaped. Pile 3 gonna be this. I also forgot what it was called. But it's blue. It's like an icy crystal blue. Glacier. It's actually, I feel like it's harder to see in the candlelight. Hi, pile 1. It's gonna be this Leo ring. And I'm gonna put it on. And this is gonna be your spiritual influence on the physical. So maybe you have like a little bit of trouble communicating your spirituality into the material world, or maybe there's like trouble with other people receiving it, or maybe not other people but the material world receiving it. Maybe it's not even that there's trouble with like it being able to get between those two worlds, but your spiritual influence causes a lot of trouble. It causes a lot of trouble in the material world. Trouble. We're gonna use occult tarot today. Spirit, what is pile 1's influence on the spiritual? Your not necessarily your spirituality, but your influence, the influence of your spirituality is more masculine, or is derived from your masculine energy more. It's generally a more of like deriving from actions you've taken, or even like words you've spoken to people. 4 of Swords. We have Simius. I feel like I'm definitely saying it wrong, but teaches grammar, logic, and rhetoric, can make one appear like a soldier. As 4 Swords, basically, I feel like your intellect and the way you can structure your words in a conversation, especially in contrast to the other person's words, like you do it in such a way where it's very like smart, but also like intuitively smart, because you know exactly what to say in the situation to get across what you're trying to say, using other people's words that they've put into the conversation, and their logic. I don't know, and it's just like the things you say, like to people you seem really intellectual, you seem really like you know what you're talking about, even if they don't want to hear what you have to say, even if they don't like it, they still know it's true, and they still like are like sitting here being like, that makes sense. Yeah, no, like that's actually right on the money. That makes a lot of sense. Like, but yeah, so people can just have like a strong reaction to the things you say. Whatever that reaction may be, it's just like not only the things you say, but the specific idea you're trying to get across to people and the truth you're trying to get across. And you do it so firmly and so like logically in a way that makes sense in the conversation to where they can't like escape it, that it like sticks with people. In a good way or a bad way, it don't matter, but people like feel that influence from you is like even years later they'll remember the things you've said. You can probably a lot have like people who maybe you like tell off or you told your boundaries or something like that and they didn't, whatever it was, you didn't like, they didn't like what you were saying. Could have been like really way aggressive at you and do like the absolute most, do things that seemed like so out of the left field and didn't make any sense, just because they were so intensely like aggressive and dramatic, over what seemed like such a small thing you were saying. Even if it wasn't a small thing, like you've probably had a lot of experiences where the things you've said have triggered people to the point where you've been like, I know. And it's just people can't handle like people will sit there being like, no, I feel what they're saying, I see what they're saying is true, but they can't handle it. It's like it has too much of an influence on them to the point where they're like, we gotta fight, I gotta do something, I gotta retaliate in some way that meets the level of the intensity of the truth you were exposing, and the intensity they felt of being exposed. Because I feel like your spirituality is like very knowing. Like you just have a sense of inner knowing that comes out a lot, and when you're speaking in your truth, you just talk to people that way. So you're coming from a place of like your perspective, which is like you're a lot in your spiritual energy, and you're a lot in your passive observation, so you can just observe a situation and like see all sides of it very well. I feel like to other people you seem like almost intimidating in a way. Not even like your physical traits, but like when you're talking, it's like people will stare at you and be like, ugh, this bitch is so ugly. They don't even know what they're talking about. They're so fucking stupid. They look like a little weakling. I could definitely beat this bitch up, but like they're thinking that as like they're like looking at your physical features while you're talking, but meanwhile like they're like listening to the words you're saying and they're like, wait a minute, like that actually makes sense, and it just makes them even angry. I feel like a lot of people get angry by, because it's like your influence, it's so strong and you get it. It's like about telling people straight, telling it to them straight. And a lot of the time people don't like that, so it's such a strong reaction to you because of how strong your influence is of being able to do that. And it's a spiritual thing for you because you stay in your observation, you stay in your being able to like understand things like that. Like when you're talking to people, you're coming from a place of spirituality and inner knowing, even, and these people still end up like, will be probably because of that feel triggered, and they'll have so much trouble talking, so much trouble feeling like they can get across their ideas, because suddenly what they thought was right and what they thought they were saying is completely not right, and completely like they're questioning it in the back of their head. So they start like talking weird, acting weird. Maybe they just start like acting out emotionally just from not being able to handle it. Maybe they separate from you and like act like you're the problem and just never talk to you about it. It's like people really have a problem with like, because I keep saying people really have a problem with it because I keep imagining like people years in the future after you haven't even talked to them for like a long time, and it's like just the little things you said. People you could have known way, way, way back in the day, and you could have only known for a couple of days. They could have been really mean to you or something, and then like just you've always stood in your truth. So it's like every single one of these people has been affected for years later. Those words haunt them because it's like a subconscious truth they weren't willing to face, and that's why they're projecting. And all you did was see straight through that and tell them basically what they were wanting to hear or needing to hear, because they were so far up their own ass they kept going in a loop of their own self-doubt and questioning. It's like there's so many people you've encountered who would rather just stay in that pattern, would rather just stay confused, stay in the darkness, not like solve their problem or whatever it is that they're going on, but like keep projecting it on other people and make it other people's problem, other people's fault. But then as soon as you stand in and be like, nope, this is the solution, this is what you're not facing, this is what would get you to move forward and get out of this cycle, it's like it actually influences people in a way where it plants a seed deep into their mind where they can't escape it. Like no matter how they retaliate in the moment or even act in the moment as if it was all fine or whatever, they completely understand you. It's like even if they are actually understanding you, and being like, yeah, I get what you mean, just everyone, good or bad, how they felt about it, about your words, it's all ended up coming back to them. Like maybe you only say very little, or you only say things when it's really important, or you absolutely know it's the truth, because it feels like so many people years later after knowing you, or even years after you've said a certain thing, will go back on that thing and just like they'll be like, this still holds, this still makes sense, this is still right, this is still what I'm not facing. Like for some people it's out of respect. Like this advice has always really helped me. I'm really glad to have that person in my life. But for other people, it like influences them in a way where they like hate it and they want to back away from it, but they like can't stop facing that because like deep down they need to get through whatever cycle it is that is keeping them obsessed with that, with your words, whatever karmic cycle. Yeah, it's like you come into people's lives at major points, at major specific like divine timing, and you say specific things that plant a seed in their mind to where they can keep going on that karmic cycle for 5, 10, 15, 20, however many years after they've known you. They can keep going on that karmic cycle, but they will always have that seed of your words in their head, like haunting them, or that memory of you haunting them because of the words that you, the truth that you exposed of them. And so you influence people's karmic cycles very majorly because they always end up having to face that until they move on. And this happens for a lot of people, and it's specifically your words, because you're something about you always standing in your truth and only saying things that come from your truth. Whoever you meet, whoever you interact with, good people, bad people, whatever. So maybe you have some sort of like magic power to do with your words or how you speak or what you say. Spirit, anything else on this Power 1 spiritual influence? I feel like you've had a lot of weird things happen to you, Power 1. I feel like you've had a lot of weird things happen to you in the material world. Just a lot of things that seemed like they were coming out of the left field and it didn't really make any sense. And you've kind of just sort of had to rely on like just accepting that the world's a weird place and just going with it most of the time because you have no other choice, because it's like you're constantly thrust into weird situations because of your truth and the fact that you only ever speak your truth always. It's weird. And I feel like you've sort of gotten used to it, even though, I don't know. I feel like this also has a lot to do with people in your life and the relationships you've had and you have, because they're like worlds. They're like karmic world affects you. Um it's almost like I'm imagining a two-way street almost. It's like you plant these seeds in people's minds, but it's like you have to be careful because whatever you say comes back on you. It's like you standing, I feel like you standing your truth, and that like gives you some sort of magical power or something, or maybe you have to stand in your truth because of your magical power, because your magical power's nature is of like extremely strong materializing. It's like your spirit has a very strong influence on the material world, in a way of like it can, simple emotions can manifest things in the material world from you, because of how strong your spirit has an influence. And when you stood in your power and you've like told people these things, or you've used your voice in that way, your like voice truly speaking from your spirit, truly speaking from your heart, you've always done that, Pawan. um you know that everything you say to other people when you're speaking their truth, you have to be careful with the way you say your words, because it will come back on you. Like, it's like if you set a spell without understanding like how the spell will come back to you, and you set it the wrong way, and then it affected you more than like the intended person. um Maybe you have some sort of magic. It feels like something to do with like magic and not being able to have too much power because of the consequences of your power. You have to balance it. And that's like your spirit. It has that chaos in it, so you've always had to sort of keep that balance, because it does come back on you if you don't have that balance, that it does just end up hurting you more than it ends up anyone else. Especially if you put your magical power out into the world and then it comes back onto you. So you've always had to train yourself to have that balance, no matter who it is, no matter what the conversation is. So that's why you stay in your truth. Other people might not understand it, how you can stay in your truth all the time, but it's like you've literally been forced to, because if you don't, it like comes back onto you. It's like, as much as your spirit influences the material world influences your spirit, and you have to be really careful with it, with how you interact with the world outside of you, because it affects you just as much. This can also be used to your advantage in a way that, like, if you're putting out into the world what you're wanting to be given back, you can easily compound. It can easily compound in on itself if you're doing it correctly, and you can become very powerful this way, Pal One. Which is why balance, and the balance you've learned over a long time, has become such a strong force within you. Has become such a strength within you. especially with all the things you've said to people over the years, because that has come back on you. And because you've always stood in your truth, it's given you seeds of truth. It's given you seeds of knowledge, basically, of like learning from other people's and your relationships to them, even no matter how small the interaction. And of course, everyone makes mistakes, and sometimes you've had to learn from like that's literally how you had to learn balance. Is you saw easily you can how easily you can be swept up into the darkness, and because of the nature of how intense your spirit is, and you had to figure out a way to balance that and overcome that so as not to lose your I guess free will. You're like a major spirit warrior. Pile one. It's like whatever. It's like you probably get messages specifically directly from like the the archangels about like the spiritual war. You probably get very direct messages and stuff like that because you are a very big part of the spiritual war. Just because you always walk in on divine timing, you're very you let yourself just go with the divine timing. That's another like influence your spirit has on the material world, is like you let yourself go with the divine timing, therefore spirit can just flow right through you. So it's like you have a spiritual influence on the material world. Like your spirit influence on the material world is spiritual. It's like spiritual healing, really. It's like every person you've touched, every person you've helped, every person even like you've had to learn karmic lessons with, you've helped that person grow in a way, and they in turn had helped you grow because you took in what you gave to that person and you learned that lesson within yourself because of the balanced nature of your magic and what you have. And it's like a give and take thing. You feel people's thing on a very deep level. You can't not all of you might even be empaths. It's just like a give and take thing to where you can't interact with a person without it having an exchange like that. I have to talk a little vaguely about this because there's a lot of different magic powers I'm sensing from this pile, but just take it how it resonates. I think you know what I mean. And it can especially get hard when you do have harder things going on in your material world, in your life, in your lifetime, or with relationships, because you can get easily swept into the darkness because your spirit is really intense. It's intense. It has an intense influence on other people. It has an intense influence on yourself. You strive so hard for balance, but that's not always easy because we're always growing and evolving and learning where we have balance and where we don't. And we can't always have balance because we're still growing and learning every single day. I feel like despite that confusion and despite your intense susceptibility to the darkness, you still manage to like grasp onto something and find like an inner hope and inner light in some way each day to maintain balance. I don't know why I keep talking about balance, but like maybe that is another thing that you have influence on the spiritual world, is like spiritual healing, but also bringing balance to people's lives, because part of having such a major karmic cycle is having an imbalance within yourself that you can't get over. And I feel like this has caused you a lot of pain. 2222 on the clock when I said that, pile one. This is with the Ace of Pentacles reversed here, with the Wheel of Fortune and the Ten of Wands, with Valak. It's just like these situations that you've been put in, you've always been able to maintain that balance, but I feel like you and your spirit takes the brunt of the negativity in a situation because you're like putting in energy to balance it. You kind of take back a little bit of that imbalance. And over the years, you have to realize that take a toll, and you gotta take more care of yourself. You gotta figure out where and when to like walk away, when to choose your own battles, because making sure you keep your energy clear of certain people from the very gate, just because you've had so many experiences of just negative things really just you getting roped into really bad like spiraling situations because of your relationship to other people at the time. I feel like part of your spiritual influence is you've tried so hard to help people who only ended up like not being fruitful and not being good for your soul. But you have like your very spirit has the tendency of believing in the good of a person, or seeing the good in the person. So this is just something you've had to learn and deal with over time, is like the intensity of your relationships, having to be careful who you get into a relationship with because of how intense you touch another person on a spiritual level, and then in turn they touch you, because there has to be an equal balance in that thing of your like magic. And it's caused you to learn a lot of lessons just because of how many negative and unbalanced things it's brought you through, and you had to learn the lesson of. So overall, your spiritual influence is very intense. It's caused you a lot of pain just because you're a light worker, you're a spiritual warrior, so you've worked hard for a lot of things. You've probably lost a lot of battles in the spiritual war, and you felt defeated a lot of times. Still, despite that, you maintain your balance, you look towards the future, you realize it's a spiritual war, and not just because you lost one battle doesn't mean you didn't win the war. I feel like you have a lot of faith in yourself, and that's why spirit is so easily able to channel through you, is because you have this like undying faith and hope and light within yourself. 25 on the clock when I said that, to where you're able to believe in that balance and keep putting effort and just trying, So that's really your spiritual influence on the material world, is you putting effort, you trying, not only for yourself to help yourself, but for other people. It's like spiritual healing energy. It's bringing out the truth even if it hurts energy. It's deeply changing people, like sticking in their minds even after years of their stubbornness towards the karmic cycle. It's having that such intense, logical, and perfect, right on the mark truth that it holds the test of time and sticks and still makes sense even after years. Your spiritual influence on the world is directly from spirit, directly from your heart. You're a very open and honest person, Padawan. You don't come in with any deception or fake bullshit. Like, you're showing your true heart to everybody at every circumstance, even like the good, bad, and the ugly, Yeah. What you bring from a spiritual physical is the truth. Hello, Pile 2. What's going on, Pile 2? What's up? Pile 2. I love you. Okay. Spirit, help me out here. What is Pile 2 influence on the material world? We have 6 of Cups and the Devil. Fornius and Moloch. Six of Cups teaches rhetoric and languages, gives one a good reputation, makes one beloved by friends and foes. The Devil, Moloch, makes one worse off than ever before, tricks mortals into being bound, accepts child sacrifice. Okay, right off the bat, your spirit is kind of mischievous and definitely inner child energy, but also very mischievous and like little demonic, little angelic, little mostly demonic energy. Like, some of you might have a devil complex, just a little bit, just a little bit, just for funsies, you know. But all seriousness, you are able to talk to people and persuade them, and in a way where like you have a strong influence on people. And this comes from a place of spirituality. Like, your spirit, when you walk into a room, just changes like the vibe. And I feel like this like has to do with like attraction. A lot of people are attracted to you just immediately from the gate, from your spirit. And this is part of what makes it so easy for people to fall into whatever you're saying, especially since you have quite a charming voice. And when people look into your eyes, they see like this childishness and childlikeness, in whatever you're expressing, and like the passion of whatever like you're trying to say or you're trying to get across. And it like just makes people like interested in what you're saying, and make them feel like you really care about what you're saying, and you're not just like, whatever, I hate everything. I don't know. So it just makes people feel more alive and make people feel like, oh yeah, I have interests too that I feel passionate about. And you know, I feel like you spark people's creativity. Maybe you talk about creative things, or maybe you usually talk to people in creative environments. But you really just spark the creativity up in the room, I feel like, or you make people feel more comfortable with the creative vibe they have going. I'm getting like an art room, or like a room of people talking and doing like some D&D or something. But yeah, I just feel so like giddy and like happy right now. I feel like people, when thinking about you or thinking of their memories of you, they smile and just like laugh and just feel that thoughtless happiness. And especially exes and old lovers. Ooh, people get a little obsessed with you, but I just can't, like, you, the way you know how to talk to people, like you can it's like you're not even trying that hard to do it. You know, this is just like your natural like beauty and like way you talk thing got going on. But seriously, it's like you use your charm to your advantage. You're not even that, but you like know exactly how to say the right stuff, the exactly the right moment, exactly the right way, to where it just seems all natural, but you actually have a goal in mind. But you're not telling anybody that goal. That's your secret. That's why you have this devil energy here, because you have like the Seven of Swords energy where you have like a goal in mind, and you're not afraid to use your tools, your advantage to get to that goal. I don't know. I feel like your spirit is just like likes to do the thing in the perfect way to get to the right conclusion. And it's very precise. Like, it's like some of you might have like OCD or something, but it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. Virgo energy, I don't know. But you're very good at this. You're very good at getting to whatever goal you want, and you're very good at like manipulating shit in a way that seems completely natural, and like you were just doing daily normal activities. Like, you have like this inner devilishness. I feel like it comes from you having such this like bright inner child that like affects people and makes them so happy. Like, that's your spiritual influence on the world, is people feel happy around you and they feel giddy and they feel creative. Ooh, why did I say creative like that? Yeah, but anyway, you have that like devilishness. I feel like that's part of like the thing though, is like part of what makes people more intrigued into you, is part your spiritual influence on the world is like intriguing people and charming them and like influencing them, but also like being able to get across specific emotional creative ideas using that power, not just like using that to manipulate people or get what you want out of things, but show people some of the art of your soul. And I don't know, I just keep getting like this like feeling of like gremlin energy of like, hey, I got them all by the balls. I don't fucking know, bro. I need to chill the fuck out. Yeah, this devilish energy just makes people more intrigued because like they see this like giddy inner child energy, and because that giddy inner child energy is so intense, why your shadow's so intense. But then they look and it's like at the very like center, they can see like just a spark of devilishness, and they're like, what's that? I feel like I see something back there. So I can't stop listening to you because like it shows up in your words as well. It's like you're talking and you're making a lot of sense, and you say just one tiny thing that like seems a little bit devilish and gives like way and exposes the like little gremlin energy inside, and then you immediately close it up again and you're like, what? Oh, it's completely normal. What's going on? And you're not even slick about it, but people are just like, what? Yeah, no, like they just like don't even notice or mind that they're falling in or playing into it because they just like going along with you. They like it. Could have had a lot of weird relationships with people, like romantic relationships, because of this energy, just because like I feel like this energy attracts a lot of fanatic, obsessive, willing to go very far energy. So, you might have had a few romantic relationships that had blown you around. But you know what? I feel like throughout all this, you still be able to keep your inner child energy. I feel like no matter how old you get, you'll still have that inner child energy. It just shows in your eyes. I feel like whatever creative thing you're doing, you'll be doing for a long time, just because that energy, it's like this vitality within you that like never goes out, this spark, this flame within you that never goes out. Like you're just a very, people feel a sense of passion from you. Like that's your spiritual influence on the physical world, is people feel your passion, like creatively, spiritually, sexually. I don't know, it's like not just in one way. I feel like not all of you might be comfortable with this, not all of you are comfortable with your sexuality like that, but you've been a lot of people's sexual awakening. I don't know if you know that, but I feel like you specifically body this ideal divine masculine or divine feminine energy that like makes people of the same sex attracted to you, or like having a sexual awakening about you. Spiritual influence. With the devil popping out here, I feel like you've been a few spoiled, childish peoples that you've been in romantic relationships, rude awakening to how they should be fucking treating people in the world, and stop being so selfish. Like I feel like I'm getting this energy where people like your exes like looking at you and be like, they're literally the devil. They're literally the devil. I hate them. I'm sorry. It's just like so dramatic. Like, but they're like serious. They're dead serious about it. Meanwhile, you never did a fucking thing to these people. You just showed them a taste of their own medicine, okay? It's like people who want to play devil with you, want to keep you bound, wanted to take something from you, and you showed them that energy back at them. They were like, what? You're literally the devil. What? back up, bro. Back the fuck up. But with the devil energy here, I'm also feeling like, wow, yeah, you might have an orange aura. You just have like a lot of sexual prowess. Like, your spirit expresses itself in the material world of like sexually. Like, you're a fucking sex icon. I don't even fucking know. Like, not even sexually, just sensually. Like, people can feel that like vitality, that passion, that energy within you, that heat. Oh my god, the way people get turned on by you, like, you're not, it's not even that you're like trying to seem like fucking sexy to other people. That's just how you express your like creativity or your art or yourself. And other people, like the world, the material world, would be like, oh my god, oh my god. Like, the material world cannot handle itself. The material world be breaking in two, being like, what is this? I need this in my life. She probably got like a large fan base or some shit like that. Not even that. Just like maybe even a small community of the people you know. Like, people tend to confess their crush on you a lot. But yeah, your spiritual influence got a lot of that. People feeling like you're a temptation. That devil energy, people feel like you're a temptation. They want you. They feel turned on by you. They fantasize about you. You are the object of a lot of people's fantasies. A lot of people. But other than that, I feel like with the people, like friends or romantic relationships that were actually good and stayed healthy or even ended on a healthy note, you can connect with people on a very deep level. Because of this emotionally intelligence and this way of like talking, way with your words like that, way with your expressions like that, you can get across to people and like understand them as well, to where you can have a good back and forth with almost anyone you meet, and make them feel seen and also feel seen in yourself, because you're expressing true creative ideas that you believe in with those people, and like y'all are both learning and growing from that back and forth. So I'm also feeling like in romantic relationships especially, you're not afraid to be like childlike and playful and just express your inner child and not be embarrassed of like, oh, that's child shit, that's baby shit, like we grown around here. Obviously you know when to be an adult, but you're not afraid to like be babyish with the person you love, and in turn like allow them to embody that same energy to where y'all can both just feel safe together. And it comes from a place of spirituality. You do have that inner child spirit, and that influence has influenced people, like friends, healthy romantic relationships, like has influenced people being able to interact with you and feel like they're playing with you like that, and just have those sweet good memories. Like, that's why I keep feeling smiley and giddy and like bouncing around. Like, that's how people feel around you. That's what their memories of you remind them of, or make them embody the energy. They're like, oh, I remember them, and they just feel all pumped for the rest of the day. I don't know. You inspire people. Like, you genuinely inspire people. Even these crazy obsessed fans that can't get over you and think you're the devil energy, like deep down they feel inspired by who you were in their life. Maybe they even just feel jealous because they want to embody your energy in some way. But with the Six of Cups here, I just feel deeply touched and deeply seen in like my inner light, and I feel like you're able to have very deep, meaningful relationships with people, and that's another huge spiritual influence you have on the material world, is your ability to create such deep, meaningful connections to share each other's inner light, and information about that. And this has caused a lot of growth, not only in those interactions, but in people who witness those interactions, especially if you're like a streamer or something, and You have a large audience who's privy to these interactions that you have with other people. You've definitely not only grown a lot within this lifetime, your spirit has grown a lot, but you've caused a lot of growth for other people because of that, because you've shared that so unapologetically, especially in your passions, in your art, whatever it is that you do. You shared that light within yourself and that inner child, and you weren't afraid to. So like, you inspired other people to have that same energy and feel that, remember that when they're feeling down, especially your friends. They feel really inspired by the things you say to them and the advice you give, because you see them and you understand them, and you're not afraid to look at it from a light perspective and make them fucking feel better. You make people fucking feel better. I don't know. And people feel really passionate about this. People really feel passionate about you and the effect that you have on them and how much they care for you because of how much they see you and your soul and how light you are. Like how much light you have. People love you for this. Like, genuinely, your spiritual influence on the world is that of expressing your true creative nature, your true sensual body, and making other people feel seen, making other people want to embody that creativity of their own truth, of how they want to express their body. Maybe I feel like you live in a world or have an audience of people who have maybe been repressed a little bit in terms of expressing their true selves, especially sexually and sensually and creatively, and you've sort of opened the door for that world. You've opened the door for that audience. 18 o'clock on this when I said that, but you've sort of been that like leader who like made the pathway for others, and that has helped people a lot. Like, there's a specific crowd of people you influence who is particularly affected by the successes you have and what that means for them, because it seems like something that hadn't been done before. You embody yourself and your energy in a way that hasn't been done before. Ever before. Like, ever. I feel like that's why the devil's here, is there's a certain undying truth to that, of you not being able to escape. Nobody's able to escape that truth that you give out. People are going to remember you long after you're gone. Your influence is going to reign. Like, your spiritual influence is going to last a long period, like way longer than your lifetime period of time. Like, if this is your lifetime, let's say this entire room is what your spiritual influence is actually going to be. But yeah, definitely don't be afraid to be like sexual and sensual and stuff, because people, whew, oh my god, it's like a huge part of your like spirit's expression to the world. It's a huge part of your spiritual influence on the world. So definitely don't be afraid of that. Definitely don't be afraid of showing your inner child either, and being playful, even if other people judge you for it, because they're just jealous they can't express their own inner child and be all fucking happy like you are. But you are a teacher at heart. You've taught a lot of people with the openness you've had with your sensuality and your creativity and your art, and the conversations you've had with people and getting so across to them. If you speak multiple languages, you're very good at articulating in each language you speak. Very, very good at articulating in general, but each specific language is like, anyone who speaks those languages is just like, wow, I really understand what the fuck you mean. Like, I really understand it. You understand more than just like the language's logic, but the hidden meaning behind language, the read between the lines behind language, and expressing what language means in terms of how you get across to a person and a back and forth. You have a very good reputation. Your spiritual influence on the material world has given you this amazing reputation. It's probably why you have like a following of some sort that I'm feeling. Even people who've ended up hating you still love you. Like, you just have this reputation of being like a person that people remember, people like. They're like, oh yeah, I remember them. They know they know what they're talking about. They're a real one. Yeah, you're just beloved by friends and foes because of this inner child energy. Even though people hate this devil energy within you, some people hate it. Like these exes and stuff, like they can't help but like missing that inner child energy they could embody with you before, just because you were so truthful with it, you were so open with it, you made other people feel open and vulnerable within themselves. 2222 on the clock when I said that. You made other people feel like they could embody that creativity and that sensuality. You made other people feel like they could be this inner child energy and they could just be safe while expressing that vulnerability within themselves. Even if it was in a high stakes environment, like the kind of environment where you are performing creatively or sexually. But yeah, your spiritual influence on the material world is definitely that of affecting people's inner child and expressing your inner child in a way where other people feel their own inner child more drawn out and more playful. Also bringing out people's sensuality and creativity, especially the deeper, darker parts of sensuality and creativity that will reign long after you're gone. Hi, Pal. If you chose this crystal, this is going to be a reading on your spiritual influence on material. Let's see. Let's see. What is Pile 3's spiritual influence on material? So we have all reversed, 4 cards, 5 of Pentacles, Gamagan, Ace of Swords, Citri reversed, 5 of Cups, Aim reversed, and 5 of Wands, Agaris reversed. 5 of Cups and 5 of Wands being clarifiers to 5 of Pentacles. Hey, we have 555 here! Hey! Hey, Pile 3. Got a significant spiritual influence. You got one that brings about a lot of change. You got 555. 5 of Cups, 5 of Wands, 5 Pentacles. Who needs 5 of Swords? You don't care about him. But anyway, with Ace of Swords as a clarifier, here's our Swords energy. Here it is. It's all reversed. But let's see. I knew this one was going to be confusing. Let me try and break it down for you. So you Um, your spiritual influence is definitely a little more subdued. It's like I'm imagining a pond frozen over, and at the bottom of it is an object like a sword or a teacup or something. Um, and it's like you could just reach it, but the ice is there. It's like your spiritual influence is subdued in some way. I feel like because of this, there's a lot of confusion surrounding your life, the events that happen in it, your interactions with people, them being able to understand you, you being able to understand them. I feel like there's just a lot of shit that's harder for you to do than normal people. Just because of the nature of your spirit being like trapped or subdued in your body in some way. And I don't want to say that because I feel like you're free to do whatever you still have free will. You can do whatever you want. Maybe maybe your spirit is subdued because you have to grow in some way, but because the ice only freezes over a pond for like a season or two, depending on where you live. So I feel like this could also have a lot to do with your home life. Your just home life wasn't very helpful in terms of your spirits being subdued. So it's just going to take a lot of growth to get past this layer of confusion that just happens in your daily life with being able to understand other people than being able to understand you, weird events happening day to day. I feel like over time with age, this will get easier for you, especially as you are able to free your spirit more. But as of right now, or at least so far, there's been like that disharmony of like trying to express your spirit out to the material world, but it not coming across the way you want, or even you just feeling like you can't get across to anyone because the only people you've ever been surrounded with are people who couldn't care less, no matter what your spirit was. So this is definitely something you just need to be patient with, but I feel like it's something that you think a lot about and have a lot of doubts about or misgivings about. Maybe you feel like you're not normal, you need to be better, you need to try harder. When I think this would probably just get easier with time and age. There's just a lot you have to struggle with in terms of being able to express your inner light out to the world and being subdued by other people, by family, by your own inner forces. I feel like despite that, what you bring to the table, what you give out to the world, still manages to be pure and beautiful. Like, you're not taking away from other people, you're not hurting other people at all, or anything like that. It's not negative in any way, which is so surprising considering the deep confusion and imbalance you have to go through on a day-to-day basis, yet you still have this influence on the world that like takes away people's feeling of hopelessness and poverty. I feel like your message does get through to some people, maybe even people far away that you don't even notice, but you still end up doubting yourself as to whether or not your message is coming forward, because of how much you don't feel recognized in your day-to-day life. But it's like Spirit specifically put you at this position to help you to develop this power, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you have, without getting recognition from close by, because you're meant to affect people far away, and you're meant to not know how you're affecting people because it would change how you're doing whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, you're not meant to know how other people are reacting to your spiritual influence, because whatever it is that you're doing right now, whatever message you're putting out into the world, it's meant to be put out into the world, but if you heard other people's reactions to it, it would change the trajectory of what you're doing. So you just have to be patient, you have to give it time. I know it seems confusing right now, but you really are helping people. I think it just has a lot to do with the stage you are in your life and in your spiritual growth, to where you just can't see how you've helped people. You can't see it at this point because you're not at a certain stage in your development. Not even in age, but in like vibrations. I'm feeling like you're definitely a lot more in the 3D, in the material world in this lifetime. More to that, you are going more onto that 4D vibration, but it's like you're mostly in the 3D because you're meant to have this confusion really as part of your spirit, because it's not supposed to make sense yet. I feel like your spirit is the type of thing to where none of it is going to make sense in the 3D, in the material world, and then it's all going to make sense once in the 4D and 5D, and you can see from all perspectives and all timelines, and it would make so much more fucking sense then. But it's really hard to get across in 3D. But you have a very far-reaching influence worldwide, I'm feeling like, and it's not like a crowd of people. It's different, separate, individual people all across the world. And it's not like you've gained a huge following, you've become famous, because it's like you specifically aren't becoming famous, but you still are managing to affect people all over the world somehow, just separately, like individually. It's the type of thing, I don't know, but it really is taking away people's feeling of lack within themselves, or not having enough. Like whatever it is, like your spiritual influence has this thing where, it just helps people feel like more fulfilled, like less like they don't have enough, and less like they still need to look for what they don't have, and more like grateful for what they have right now and grateful for what they've done already. Maybe even like whatever passion project, whatever like message you're trying to get right now, even if like you're standing in that confusion, standing in your spiritual power and whatever it is you're doing to express yourself helps you feel more like fulfilled in a way where you feel like I can help people in this way even if I feel confused or doubtful about it, and or I feel like nobody understands even what I'm trying to do or say. And I feel like you are feeling that it's helping you right now. You do sense that, and that's why you're doing that despite this confusion, and you're sticking with that. But I feel like it's going to make a lot more sense for you in the future, where it's going to feel like, oh, I feel a little more fulfilled now that I'm doing this. I feel better about this, that I can help. But in the future, you're going to be like, oh my God. It's like you're going to be enjoying the fruits of labor, and you're going to be like, God damn, I'm definitely glad I fucking did that, despite my confusion and despite my self-doubt. Like, you're going to feel like it was important later on. It's like everything you do, it's sort of, you're kind of confused because your spirit is in a state of confusion because of the 3D, but you're still doing it because it's like, thank you, spirit. Oh my God. It's like if a 4D soul was being translated into a 3D soul, and you had to like, or like literally through a 3D mindset and perspective, and you had to like get it all across, but you're not able to see from the 4D unless you just like meditate, tap into your soul. But most of the time you're like doing things in the 3D, you're doing things in the material world, so you are stuck in that confusion because you're expressing the 4D energy, but it's coming out in the 3D, so it's coming out in all kinds of different ways, in different waves, different directions, and it's like, it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to other people, but it's definitely happening for a purpose. It's definitely happening exactly as it's meant to happen. And it's definitely helping. It's helping just the general state of the universe feel more balanced and less like desolate, I guess you could say. Whatever it is that your spiritual influence is like, it's a very modern thing. It's definitely progressive. Like, your spiritual influence is meant to progress whatever society is on right now, and like to the next level. We're going to the next level. It's a very like, I don't want to say fancy, but I'm feeling like people need to be paying attention. This is like important. It's like how you would pay attention to a king or queen or someone with class. But this isn't about class. This is more about vibration, like spiritual class. So even though your actions and your interactions don't seem to make sense to you or to others, people still feel this high spiritual level that you're on. Like, what's it called? They just sense that you're on a high spiritual level. Yeah. I feel like from the close friends or close relationships you've had, there was a mutual understanding that you are like expressing shit through a 3D, and that's why it's like there's a mutual understanding of this confusion that goes on, and there's a mutual acceptance of it for people who like truly love you. Pile 3, and this may feel like a burden to you sometimes, Pile 3, your spirit self, just because of how hard it is for you to get into the 3D world, and then how it affects your relationships, to where people just feel like you're crazy, or you're weird, or you're trying to be a weirdo, or you're just lazy and not putting effort in. Just this lack of understanding makes you feel not seen, especially since it most often happens in your close circle or in your close vicinity, and like the things you see day to day. But I feel like that's part of your like karmic soul, like just a path and destiny. Karmic stuff is to be able to believe in yourself even without having that reassurance on something so important. Like being able to believe yourself about something so important, because your spiritual influence is very important. And being able to believe in that despite being confused and not knowing what the fuck you're talking about, and despite other people being confused, not knowing what they're talking about. And I feel like those few healthy relationships you've had where people have just accepted that part of you and been like, yeah, that's just you, has really helped you to be like, it's okay. This is just how I am. I shouldn't be trying to change myself. I don't have to understand I don't have to understand who I am to embody it, you know? And so this has probably meant you've had to grow up fast, or you've just grown a lot, 16 in a short amount of time in your lifetime. So your spiritual influence on the world is sort of like the kind of thing that would overthrow governments. It's like you're exposing a truth that it's almost a spiritual world kind of thing, where you're exposing a truth that completely dismantles and dissects every lie that had happened before, or that had been tried to put in place before, and puts it into question, puts it into doubt, puts it into instability to where it doesn't work anymore. It's like you're literally using your spiritual self, you're translating it into the 3D world to dismantle like governmental, not even specifically government, but like those like organizations of like pyramid, like taking free will, and like that darkness thing of like not having enough and taking or whatever. But it's like organizations of people doing it. It doesn't just happen in the government. It's like different groups of like beings, and it's like you dismantle that with your spiritual influence, whatever it is you're doing, and you get all across the world and touch specific people to where just right at the right moment, to where, I don't know, it's like revealing secrets, exposing secrets, and it's not even like you're going through and like having to look for this shit. It just comes out of you. It's like the truth of who you are. Like your spirit just immediately dismantles these lies with the truth, the intense truth that you have. Like your spiritual influence on the world around you is that of making people rethink their like fulfillments, what makes them fulfilled, and making people rethink like, oh, I'm always going on and on about what I've lost, but I need to think about what I have. Like, look at what I have right now. This is very important. Look what we can do with what we have now. This is a very progressive energy. Your spiritual influence on the material is very progressive and moving forward and getting the world to change, because it really does need, there's a lot of change that needs to happen in the world right now. And your spirit is helping with that. No matter how much stress this caused you, no matter how much drama this has put you through, I feel like you could have been in situations where people condemned you simply because they were confused by your intellect, or they couldn't understand you. But they just could never be on your level. And you have to go through a lot of stress because of how intense the spiritual war is for you, and because of how confusing your own powers can be for yourself. But I don't know if you realize you're literally creating a new language. Like, you're teaching a new language. You're not even teaching, you're just showing people that they can do that in that way. And it's very significant. Like, you're helping us move to the 4D. Yes, thank you! Your spiritual influence is that of a light worker who is helping the collective shift to a 4D perspective in the most comfortable way possible. And that's why you have such a worldwide influence, because you need to help a lot of different people in a lot of different places. And the only reason you're not getting a bunch of recognition and whatever about that in your day-to-day life is just because you are karmically meant to be able to do this by yourself and believe in yourself to do this without approval from anyone else. But Lord, is this sufficient and helpful? Like, your spiritual influence is very sufficient. You're doing exactly you have done, and you're doing exactly as you should. 111 on the clock, as I said that, to bring about the help of bringing up the collective to a 4D perspective and vibration. So yeah. And I feel like once, it has been shifted more to that state, once it's more on that state and less than it is in the 3D realm, the earth I mean, then it will start making more sense to you. Like, your own spiritual self will start making more sense to you, and will definitely make more sense to other people, because they can see from that perspective. They can see where you're coming from finally. But yeah. Part of your spiritual influence is bringing about this confusion, bringing about showing where exactly this Ace of Swords reversed, where this lack of truth is, and how it's inherently unsustainable to the point where it no longer matters. Like, the way your spiritual influence works is like, it makes those past systems void. It literally makes them not work anymore because of the truth you're expressing. That's how intense of a vibration, of a 4D vibration, you have my pile 3.